Buenos días, clase. Today we're going to be talking about what you like. Now in English, the way we commonly say it, the way it sounds best in English is I like cookies. So this example here, I like cookies. But in Spanish, it's going to help a lot more instead of using the verb to like, if you think about it as is pleasing. So instead of I like cookies, saying cookies are pleasing to me. So what this ends up doing is it kind of reverses the order of things. So here in this first sentence, when we use the verb like, I is a subject. It's an active doer of the liking, and the cookies are an object. And then it's the other way around. When we say is cookies are pleasing to me, cookies becomes a subject. They are so fabulous that they are pleasing me, and then they're pleasing to me. And here, the person who likes the cookies ends up being the object. Now this version is more like the formula in Spanish. So in English, you can see we've made the switch from I to me. And that same thing has to happen in Spanish if you're going to do this verb correctly. So here is our formula in Spanish for liking to do something. Now to do something is going to be a little bit different from liking things. We're going to do that in a moment. So first we're going to start off with the clarifier or the emphasizer. That's the first part of our formula. Notice it's in parentheses because it's optional. We're going to clarify the emphasizer later. Then if you're going to have a no, it's going to come right here. It's not always going to be there. Again, that's why it's in the parentheses. Next is you're going to be your indirect object pronoun. This has to happen. You cannot skip this. We're going to use the verb gustar. Then the last thing we're going to have is our verb in the infinitive, okay? So that's the thing that we like to do. So let's connect those guys. It's the verb we like to do. It's in an infinitive, which means that we haven't changed it yet. It doesn't have an O or an E or anything like that. So this verb comer is a verb in the infinitive. So the verb in the infinitive is what we like to do, okay? So if we look at our sentence here, we have gusta right there. And me is going to be an example of our indirect object pronoun. So that's the indirect object pronoun. And as you can probably guess, that means me. So we have eating is pleasing to me. That is. All right, our indirect object pronoun, commonly referred to when we're just writing formulas quickly as IOP. So your indirect object pronoun we're going to use to state who is pleased, okay? So the person that likes this stuff, we're going to represent not with our normal subject pronouns, yo, tú, él, etc., but with an indirect object pronoun. So it's pleasing to me, me. It's pleasing to us, nos, whether it's female, nosotros or nosotras. It's all going to end up with nos. It's pleasing to you, my friend, te. It's pleasing to you, sir, or you, ma'am, formal, le. It's pleasing to you guys, to y'all, les. It's pleasing to him or to her, le. It's pleasing to them, whether it's ellos or ellas, is les. Again, we have that same repetition that we always end up seeing with le being the same as this and les being the same as this. So let's look at some examples. You guys are the people that are pleased, and that is going to be me, te, le, nos, or les. For you guys, we're going to put less. Like we said is always going to be with verbs, gusta, in this formula. And the verb to study is estudiar. We're going to leave it in the infinitive form. We're not going to change it. So this ends up saying studying is pleasing to you guys. Looking at our next one, we're talking to one person, you, and we're being formal, sir. So our indirect object pronoun for this would be le. Now on this one we have a don't like. That's a negative, and so we're going to need to add our no in there. And remember that our no came before the indirect object pronoun. So we have no, le. With the verb, we're just talking about what we like to do, so it always is going to be just gusta for right now. And then to use the computer, to use is usar la computadora. So we have using the computer is pleasing to you. Oh, is not pleasing to you, sir. So it's kind of weird in English that we split up the no and the gusta. That's just the way it is in Spanish. Alrighty, I told you that I would tell you later about the clarifier or the emphasizer. So here it is. If we look at this sentence, le gusta comer el chocolate. Le could be a lot of people. It could be Juan, it could be él, it could be ella, it could be Maria, it could be usted, señor. So there's so many different people. I really want to know who I'm supposed to give this chocolate to because someone here likes to eat it. So we use the clarify to clarify who this le is. And it basically ends up being a second time writing it. So you're going to have to write it always in your sentence. You have to write it in the indirect object pronoun form. But I'm going to repeat it out in the front of the sentence and say, a ella le gusta comer el chocolate. Now that's still not super clear because ella, again, there's a lot of different ellas that it could be. So sometimes instead of the a plus your subject pronoun for your clarifier, some people will clarify it even farther and say instead a and then the person's name. So we could say, for example, a Gabi le gusta comer el chocolate. And for this one, me gusta comer el chocolate. Well, this one, it's not a case of needing to clarify who it is because me could only be me. But sometimes I really want to give extra emphasis. Now, in English, we can only do that by really exaggerating your tone. I like chocolate. Why did you give it to her? But in Spanish, we can do it by just saying the me twice. So you're going to say it once as your indirect object pronoun because that's always mandatory. And then I'm going to add an a, me, with an accent on there before. So basically, your indirect, the person who likes it is stated twice here. That's why it's emphasized. And the person you like it on this one is stated once as an indirect object pronoun and then once as their name so you can clarify it. So here you have a table with how to form the clarifier or the emphasizer. And pretty much you can see it's a plus something, right? So a plus something. Generally, it is not the indirect object pronoun, but the subject pronoun for every single one of these. Usted, ella, él, ellos, ellas, ustedes, nosotros, nosotras. All the same, except for these two here. So let's highlight these because they are different. So a mí, that's not a yo, and a ti instead of a te. It's a little odd. A mí has an accent and a ti does not. You just got to memorize that. Remember that these are optional. You can add it, you cannot add it. We're going to take it one step further. All of our examples were with things that we liked to do. To do is an action, that's a verb. And here we're going to look at things that we like. So things are nouns. So when we like a noun or when we like nouns, when it's plural, our formula changes a teeny bit. So this is talking about things or multiple things that we like. Again, we're using the clarifier or emphasizer in both cases. Again, we're using the no optionally. Again, we're using the indirect object pronoun. Here is the only small difference. When we like two things, we have to use the gustan. And when we like one thing, it's exactly the same as when we liked our verb. It's gusta, okay? So let's look at some examples. Our clarifier, let's go all out and say a ellas. And then our indirect object pronoun for ellas is going to be les. Let's say that they like cookies. Las galletas. Las galletas, that's plural, so we're going to choose gustan. Les gustan las galletas. A ellas les gustan las galletas. Now let's say they only like la fruta, okay? So again, we have a ellas. Again, we have les. But this time, we're going to use la fruta. Now, even though fruta is it's a group of things, it's treated as a singular because you can tell right here with a la. So that means that you're not going to choose gustan here. You're going to say les gusta la fruta, okay? So if you're liking a thing rather than a verb, you need to really pay attention to how many, because it's possible that you're going to need that gustan rather than the gusta. Now it's your turn to come up with some examples. I would like you to write a total of 5 sentences that are all yours. In those 5 sentences, I want you to have a variety of people who are pleased. That means sometimes me, sometimes te, sometimes le. I want you to have a variety of positive versus negative, so some things you like, some things you don't like. I want you to do a variety of verb, thing, and two things. And then one more thing, I would like you to, for all of them, I want you to include the emphasizer or clarifier. So even though it's optional, I want all of your sentences to have it. So for an example, one of my sentences could be, a Gabriela le gusta escribir en español. Okay, so 5 sentences that are all you.